Yeah.
It often really getting the full security picture
Oh,
or
yeah.
even understanding why they're doing each thing.
That's exactly why we're here today. This deep dive, we're navigating that mountain,
Hmm.
specifically for the Keystone 3 Pro hardware wallet.
Yep.
Our mission. Cut through the jargon, explain not just what to do, but the security reasons behind it all. We'll even get into securing something specific, like a DA01 profile,
Hmm.
and we're working straight from the Keystone 3 Pro's official step-by-step setup guide,
Yeah.
pulling out the really important stuff.
Distilling it down.
Exactly. So by the end, you'll have a crystal clear idea of what's involved, what to watch out for, and why these steps, these layers,
Hmm.
really matter for your digital life.
And what's really cool about this setup, I think, is how each little action, builds a stronger wall around your assets. It's very deliberate. Good design, really.
Okay, let's start building then,
Mhm.
right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Essentials, first connections. What do you actually need ready before you even power it on?
Okay, so obviously the Keystone 3 Pro device itself, and make sure it's got some juice over 20% charged, is what they recommend.
Right.
You'll also need that USB cable that comes in the box. That's for firmware updates mainly. And importantly, access to a PC with internet.
Why the PC?
Well, that's key for visiting Keystone's official website. You need it for device verification and for grabbing any firmware updates later on.
Gotcha. Okay, so you have everything. What's the very first physical thing you do with the device?
Super simple start. You just connect the USB cable from your PC to the Keystone 3 Pro.
Okay.
The device itself will then pop up a message asking to connect to the PC. You just need to tap approve or maybe connect right there on the Keystone screen.
Easy enough.
Then it's just choosing your language. Swipe, tick the one you want, tap, continue. Basic setup stuff.
Okay, now the next bit. Device verification. You mentioned this. It sounds kind of formal, maybe skippable, but you're saying it's really important.
Oh, it's vital. Absolutely vital. This isn't just a formality. This is your main defense against what we call supply chain attacks.
Supply chain attacks, like someone messing with it before it gets to me.
Exactly that. Imagine someone tampering with the device during shipping, verification checks for any, contamination. Make sure the firmware installed is legit and safe. It's like your personal seal saying, yep, this is genuine, straight from Keystone.
Ah, okay. That's huge peace of mind, actually. So how do you do it? Walk us through that verification process.
Right. So on your PC, you open up your web browser and go to https://keys.1verify. Easy enough.
Keys.1 verify. Got it.
Click the button there that says Verify Device. Then you pick up your Keystone device. Its camera will be ready to scan.
Scan what?
Scan the QR code that pops up on your PC screen on that website.
Ah, okay. Device scans the PC screen.
Yep. Then, back on the Keystone, you tap something like Enter the verification code. A code will show up on the Keystone screen.
Okay.
You take that code and type it into the website back on your PC.
So PC shows QR, device scans it, device shows code, you type it on PC.
Exactly. It's a full loop. Ensures secure communication. Once the website confirms it, you just tap Success on the Keystone and you're verified. Done.
That's thorough. Okay, makes sense why it's so important now. All right, moving on. The guide mentions firmware updates. Sometimes says skippable. Should you ever actually skip it?
Well, skippable might be a strong word. Technically, if your current version works for what you need right now, maybe. But generally, it's a really good idea to update.
Why is that?
Firmware updates often add support for new coins or blockchains. They patch bugs sometimes, security bugs, or they add new features. So while maybe not mandatory every time for security and just having the latest capabilities, I'd usually recommend doing the update.
Okay, good advice. So if you decide to update, what's the process? Any catches?
Right. The guide focuses on the update via USB cable option. But there's a big if here.
Uh,
If your Keystone's firmware is really old, like below version 1.0.4, you actually have to do an initial update using a microSD card first, before you can use the USB method for later updates.
okay, so check the version first. Anything else?
Yeah, battery check again. Make sure it's over 20% charged before you start. The update takes a bit of power.
Yeah, don't want it dying mid-update. And the actual connection for the USB update.
So on the Keystone device, you tap via USB, then connect it to your computer. And this is important. Tap Approve on the Keystone screen to grant USB access. If you don't, it might just charge the battery, not connect for the update.
Okay, approve access, not just plug it in.
Yeah.
Then what on the PC?
On the PC, open your browser again and go to the firmware upgrade page. That's https://keys.11molsb.
What must be big?
Click Connect, then Install Upgrade. Pretty straightforward there. If it asks you during the process, select Multi-Coin.
How long does this usually take?
Plan for around 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes, depending on your starting firmware, there might be an extra security download bit too.
Okay.
And the absolute golden rule here: do not let the device go to sleep during the update. Don't let the screen turn off. Keep it active.
Right. A power interruption or sleep mode could mess things up badly.
Could corrupt the whole thing, yeah. Big headache.
Definitely noted.
Yeah.
Okay, so device verified, firmware updated. Now we get to the core part. Creating the wallet. Guarding the digital treasure, as they say.
Exactly. This is where it really becomes yours. You'll tap Create Wallet on the device.
First step.
First step, and honestly sometimes overlooked, is setting a strong PIN or password for the wallet itself. This is your immediate lock. Don't skimp here.
Good point.
You can also give your wallet a name, like My Savings or whatever. It makes it easier if you have multiple. Or you can just skip that naming part.
Okay, then the backup method. The guide really hammers on the seed phrase.
Yeah.
Calls it the key to your funds, says guard it like treasure. Is it really that critical?
Oh, absolutely. If we're talking about the single most important piece of information for your crypto, it's the seed phrase, period.
Why specifically?
Because it's your ultimate recovery tool. Think about it. If your Keystone gets lost, stolen, smashed, whatever, that seed phrase is how you get all your funds back on a new device. It's the master key to everything tied to that wallet. That's why they say treat it like treasure, because financially, it could be.
Wow. Okay. Puts it in perspective. So, given how crucial it is, what are the absolute do's and don'ts for handling it? Best practices.
Right. Number one, write it down. Physically write it down. Use that special recovery sheet they include in the box. It's made for this.
Paper, not digital.
Absolutely. Number two, keep it intensely private. Don't ever share it with anyone. Don't email it. Don't message it. Don't take a photo of it. Keep it completely away from anything online.
Why no photos or anything digital?
Because the second it touches a device connected to the internet, your phone, your computer, its security is compromised. Malware, hackers, the risk skyrockets. The whole point of a hardware wallet is cold storage, offline security.
Right. Offline.
Which leads to number three, store it offline, securely. Think fireproof safe, waterproof bag, maybe multiple locations, just offline and safe. And a really critical tip people miss: don't ever import a seed phrase that was generated online into your Keystone.
Why not?
Because if that seed phrase was ever displayed on a website or an app, it's already potentially exposed. Importing it into your secure hardware wallet defeats the purpose. You want a seed phrase generated by the hardware wallet itself, kept offline from the start.
That makes total sense. Start clean, keep it clean.
Exactly. So once you've understood that, on the device you select standard seed phrase, continue, and then it'll make you confirm the words back, usually in the right order. That's just to make sure you wrote it down correctly. No typos.
Double checking your work. Smart. Okay, that offline storage is really the heart of the security model here. So wallet's created, seed phrase is safely stashed away offline. How do you then connect this hardware fortress to something like, say, MetaMask, which a lot of people use day to day on their browser?
Good question. It's actually pretty slick. On your Keystone device itself, you tap the little three dots icon, usually for settings or options.
Okay.
Then choose Connect Software Wallet, and from the list you select MetaMask.
Simple enough on the Keystone side, then you hop over to the PC.
Exactly. You switch to your computer, open your MetaMask browser extension, click the account drop-down menu at the top.
Yeah, where it shows your current account name.
Right there. Then you select Add Hardware Wallet.
Okay, add hardware wallet.
Then it'll give you options. Choose Hardware Wallet again, and then specifically QR-based, and click Continue.
QR-based.
Yeah.
So it uses the camera and screen again, keeps things air-gapped, no direct connection.
Precisely. No private keys ever leave the Keystone or touch the internet. It communicates securely using those QR codes. So next, you hold up your Keystone, which is now displaying a QR code,
Right.
and you use your PC's camera via the MetaMask interface to scan that QR code from the Keystone device.
PC scans the Keystone this time.
Yep. Then click Continue in MetaMask. It'll ask how many accounts from the Keystone you want to make visible or unlock in MetaMask. You can choose one or more.
Okay.
Select how many, click Unlock, and here's the really interesting part. The address that shows up in MetaMask, it won't be the same as your regular old MetaMask address if you had one.
Why not?
Because this new address you just unlocked is generated from the seed phrase stored on your Keystone. It's a completely separate address secured by the hardware.
Ah, so you know you're using the secure one.
Exactly. Your Keystone account will now appear in your MetaMask list, probably named something like Keystone 1 or QR1. It clearly marks it as the hardware-backed account.
That's a great indicator. You know you're interacting with the funds secured by the physical device.
Ah,
Okay, that covers the basic setup and connection. Now let's tackle something more advanced you mentioned. Securing a DAO1 profile by moving stuff with Keystone. Sounds involved.
It is a bit more involved, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a really good example of why you'd use a hardware wallet.
Yeah.
The mission here is basically to take your DAO1 profile, which is tied to NFTs on the Apertum network, like your digital ID, DID, and maybe MineBot NFTs,
Okay.
and move all of that, plus any related tokens from an existing, maybe less secure MetaMask account into your new Keystone protected account you just set up in MetaMask. You're migrating your decentralized identity and assets to the fortress.
Okay, migrating to safety.
Hmm.
Are there any really critical things someone must know before they even start this DAO1 move? Warnings,
Yeah.
prerequisites.
Absolutely. A couple of big ones. First, you must have some APTM token in your old MetaMask wallet. Yeah, that's the native token for the Apertum blockchain. You need it to pay the transaction fees, the gas, for moving the NFTs and tokens.
Yeah.
No ACTM in the old wallet. Nothing moves.
Okay, need gas money. Got it. What else?
Second, once you transfer those NFTs, especially the DID NFT, your old account loses all access and privileges tied to that digital ID. It's a permanent move.
Right, the identity moves with the NFT.
Exactly. Which leads to the third point. You really need to transfer everything, all the relevant NFTs, all the associated tokens to the new Keystone account. If you leave stuff behind in the old account, it's not protected by your Keystone. Got to move the whole package to secure the profile properly.
Okay, all or nothing for full security. Makes sense. So let's break down the steps. How do you start this relocation, accessing the old stuff first?
Yep. Open your MetaMask extension on your PC, log in with your password. Make sure you select your old MetaMask account, the one you're moving from.
Okay, selected the old account.
Now, copy its public address. Just click on it. It usually copies automatically. You'll need this.
Copied the old address. Now, how do you find those specific DAO1 NFTs, the DID and MineBots?
For that, you need the Block Explorer. Open explorer.apertum.io in your browser.
Explorer.epitom.io.
Okay. Paste your old MetaMask address into the search bar on the Explorer website. Hit enter or click the result that shows you everything in that old wallet.
Right, looking inside the old wallet on the blockchain.
Exactly. Now, click on the Tokens tab, then NFTs. You should see your DID NFT there. Find its specific number, its token ID. Write that number down carefully. You'll need it.
Got the DID number.
Now, click on the DID NFT name itself. This takes you to its details page. Copy its contract address. That's the address of the NFT collection itself.
Okay, copy the DID contract address. What about MineBots?
Same idea. Go back to the Explorer page for your old wallet, find the MineBot NFT section, click on it, and copy its contract address too. You need the contract address for each type of NFT you're moving.
All right, so I have the old wallet address, the specific NFT ID numbers, and the contract addresses for each NFT type. Now, how do I make these visible in my new Keystone-backed account in MetaMask?
Okay, back to your MetaMask extension. Switch the selected account now to your new Keystone account, the one named Keystone 1 or similar.
Switch to the new secure account.
Go to the NFTs tab in MetaMask, click the three dots, and select Import NFT.
Import NFT.
So the network selected is Apertum mainnet. Then paste the DID contract address you copied earlier. And then in the token ID field, enter that specific DID NFT number you wrote down.
Pasted DD contract. Entered my DID number.
Click Import. The DID NFT should now appear under the NFTs tab for your Keystone account. Now repeat that exact process for the MineBot NFTs. Paste the MineBot contract address, enter your DD number, often used as the identifier for related NFTs, but double check if it requires a unique MineBot ID, and click Import.
Okay, so importing just makes them show up in the list for the new account. They haven't actually moved yet, right?
Correct. That's just telling MetaMask, hey, be aware of these NFTs at these addresses. They're still technically owned by the old address until you transfer them.
So how do we do the actual transfer now?
Yeah.
Move them to Keystone's control.
Right. Still in MetaMask, with your new Keystone account selected. Actually, wait, scratch that. You need to initiate the transfer from the old account. Sorry.
Ah, okay. Switch back to the old MetaMask account.
Yes. Good catch. Switch back to the old account where the NFTs currently live. Now, click on the picture of the NFT you want to transfer, like the DID NFT.
Clicked on the NFT in the old account.
Scroll down in the details view. You should see a send or transfer button. Click that.
Okay, send transfer.
Now, it will ask for the recipient address. Here, you paste the address of your new Keystone account.
Paste the new secure address.
Exactly. Follow the prompts in MetaMask to confirm. Now, because this is coming from a regular MetaMask account, you'll just confirm it within MetaMask using your password. But wait, no, you're sending to the Keystone address. Let me rephrase. You initiate the send from the old account to the new Keystone account address. MetaMask will handle the transaction broadcast.
Okay, send from old, paste new address, confirm in MetaMask, and I need APTM in the old wallet for this gas fee.
Correct. And you repeat this process for each individual NFT you need to move. Click NFT, send, paste new address, confirm, one by one.
Got it. Transferring NFTs one by one. What about regular tokens? Similar process.
Very similar logic, yeah. Still in the old MetaMask account, go to the Tokens tab, click on the specific token you want to transfer, like, say, some DAO1 utility token.
Okay, click the token.
Click the Send button. Again, paste the address of your new Keystone account as the recipient.
Paste new address again.
Select the amount of the token you want to send, probably max if you're moving everything. Then confirm the transaction in MetaMask, paying the gas fee with APTM from the old wallet. Repeat for each type of token you need to move.
Okay, so NFTs and tokens all synced from the old address to the new Keystone address. Is there anything weird that happens right after? Something to look out for?
Yes, absolutely. There's a common point of confusion right after you do all this. Even though the transfers were successful on the blockchain, when you switch back to look at your new Keystone account in MetaMask, the NFTs you just transferred might not show up immediately under the NFTs tab, and some of the tokens might not appear in your token list either.
Wait, even though they were sent successfully, that sounds worrying.
It can be, but don't panic. The assets are at your new address on the blockchain. MetaMask sometimes just needs a little nudge to refresh and display them correctly, especially custom tokens or NFTs.
So what's the fix? How do you make them show up?
The recommendation is to basically re-import them, just like you did initially, to make them visible. Go back to your Keystone account view in MetaMask, go to NFTs, click Import NFT, and re-add the contract address and ID for your DID and Minebots. For tokens, you might need to click Import Tokens and add their contract addresses again.
So you import them before the transfer to find them, then you transfer them, and then you might need to import them again in the new wallet just to make them display properly.
Pretty much, yeah. It sounds redundant, but that last re-import step usually fixes the display issue in MetaMask and confirms everything is showing up correctly in your nice, new, secure Keystone-controlled account.
Okay, that's a crucial tip to avoid post-transfer panic. So let's recap. You basically just walked us through the entire Keystone 3 Pro setup, from the moment you open the box, doing that vital device verification, maybe updating the firmware.
Right, creating the wallet, securing that all-important seed phrase offline.
Connecting it safely to MetaMask using QR codes, and even tackling a complex migration like moving a whole DAO1 profile, NFTs, tokens, the lot, over to the hardware wallet's protection.
You've verified, updated, connected, and successfully secured your assets. It's quite the process,
Yeah.
but each step builds that security.
So connecting this to the bigger picture, what does this whole detailed process tell us? It really highlights how layered digital asset security is, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's not just one thing. And it shows how important it is to actually understand the why behind each step, not just, click buttons blindly. It really puts the responsibility for managing your digital identity and assets squarely on you, the user.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe something provocative to chew on. Given how intricate this all is, hardware wallets, migrations, specific platform stuff like DAO1, what does this signal about the future of user experience in DeFi and Web3?
That's the big question, isn't it?
How do we balance this kind of robust, self-sovereign security, which is amazing, with making it accessible and not completely overwhelming for, well, everyone else who isn't super technical? It's a massive challenge for the whole space to figure out.
It really is finding that sweet spot between security and usability. That's going to be key for wider adoption, a necessary evolution, I think.
Definitely something to keep watching. And of course, for anyone wanting to explore more about Keystone features beyond this setup, their official website is the place to go for more info.
Always best to go straight to the source for details.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful. Thanks for breaking down such a complex process.
My pleasure. Glad we could walk through it.